say.
Hello, Susan and Kelly. I am excited to be here. Jumping right on in, welcome everybody to the Mom Projects Masterclass, Why You're Not Getting Hired After Your Career Break and How to Turn Things Around. If you've been applying to jobs after a career pause and have heard nothing back, know that you're not alone. In today's unusually tight market, many talented moms and caregivers are facing rejection, not just because of the economy, but because of small, avoidable mistakes in their job search. Today, we're joined by Susan and Kelly of Prepare You to Launch. They are going to break down the most common missteps and share exactly how to turn things around so you don't just get noticed, but you get hired. Whether you're starting in your search or it's already in motion, we know you'll leave today feeling motivated, prepared, and ready to relaunch. Before we start, just a couple of housekeeping notes. This session will be recorded and available on our YouTube channel to rewatch. We will have some time for Q&A at the end, so please, throughout our time together today, drop any questions that you have in the chat. You also will receive an email tomorrow with the recording and additional information about Prepare You to Launch and all of the really exciting things they have coming this semester. Before we dive into the meat and potatoes of why we're here, I'd love, Kelly and Susan, if we could just start with how it is August. I don't know if you are feeling the same weight and burden of back to school as I am, but I am so curious to hear how you all are navigating back to school life right now.
Kelly's navigating it more than I am.
Yes, mine would be it's been a wild ride. I dropped one off to college yesterday. I have one who is going to college on Thursday. I have another one who is going back to junior year in high school next week. And then I have one who's going to kindergarten this Thursday.
Oops.
So yeah, surprise of a lifetime. Yes, we're starting all over. So I have one who's graduating as a senior from college this year and one who is starting the whole thing again. So
I
you feel any better about your back to school trajectory, just know lots of deep breaths are being taken and and just savoring it because it goes so quickly. It really does. It can be a blur, but
I mean, talk about juggling. You are
in it to win it for sure. Yeah.
And I have 4 kids also, but I have one in graduate school. The other 3 are out finding their way.
Yeah, she's making me macaroni and cheese so that we can survive.
I bet, Susan, though, you're a fantastic support system to Kelly.
Yes.
Well, I love my time with the 5-year-old.
Yes.
He and I are pretty.
Hey, Kelly, I just had my little guy start kindergarten last week, and it's my first. So I'm in all of the feels that come with that.
Yeah.
Well, perfect. I'd love to shift gears a little bit and just hear from the perspective of you both about what trends right now you're seeing in the job market, specifically when it comes to getting noticed, getting hired.
And we're going to dive into that on our slides.
Great.
We'll kind of give that detail, but I think a good overarching answer is that you kind of hinted at it. It's a tough market.
Yeah.
Let's not be, insincere here. There are a lot of factors, economic and cultural and worldwide issues that are impacting it. So we'll be talking today about ways to kind of circumvent some of the normal ways of looking for a job that aren't as successful. But we always come back to, even at our worst in this country, 95% of people are employed.
Yes.
So there is a job out there for you. It might just take a little bit more time and some more creativity to land it.
Yeah. And if you want to take a deeper look into that topic specifically, we actually did a webinar earlier this month, Prepare to Launch.
Just our
own on our own platform.
Sure.
People would like to look at that. We gave some hints and tips to how to launch yourself in
the more difficult times. And our operations and marketing manager, Megan, is on LinkedIn right now. So she'll be dropping some links in if they're appropriate for all of you, all free material.
So I was going to say, we can also make sure we can include some of that information in the follow-up email as well.
Yeah, that's great. Great.
Perfect. Right, pardon, Susan?
We dive into our slides?
Yes, let's go for it. Would love for you two to take it away.
Super.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, Natalie. Well, we're so happy to be back here with our Mom Project audience.
Yes, this
we
is one of
enjoy
our-
this audience very,
favorites,
very
for
much.
sure.
That's why we keep coming back.
That's right. So why you're not getting hired after your career break and how to turn things around, as Natalie said, that is our subject today. A little bit about us.
Yeah. So if you are new and you haven't been at one of our webinars in the past, we're both moms of four. We've said that already,
Yeah.
but we are both moms of four, and we both took caregiving breaks and we successfully returned to work.
And between us, we have a combined 40 years of experience helping women navigate work and life transitions. And we are widely recognized experts in the women in work field.
Right. We have extensive recruiting and hiring manager experience and insights. And with our help, clients and students from all across the globe
Literally.
now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Have really been consistently landing jobs using our strategies and techniques.
And after career breaks of 1 year
Right.
to like 26 years, I think is our
Yeah.
longest.
Yeah.
And today we're here to help you. So what we're going to do today first is to call out the primary reasons that you're not succeeding in relaunching your career. And one of them is going to resonate with you.
Right. And then we want you to explain then we are going to explain why the common steps you're taking are ineffective. And there's a lot that is out there. There are a lot of well-intended people probably in your life giving you advice. We're going to talk to you today because this is our lane. We know relaunching very, very well, what works and what doesn't work. And so we want to just alert you to all of that.
So we'll teach you some new strategies to conduct a more successful search. And specifically, as Kelly said, after a career break.
Yes. And then we're going to share some real life success stories of these strategies in action. We've had a really fortunate experience in the work that we've done over the years, and sat a front row seat to all of these success stories. And sometimes it's really good to hear success stories when you are doing something like challenging yourself.
That's right. And as Natalie said, we'll be leaving some time at the end for questions. So here are the job search mistakes that are most commonly made by career relaunchers. And there are 4, kind of general categories, and maybe listen to them and see which ones sound familiar to you.
So 1, you lack career direction. Do you know your audience?
This is so important because when you are pitching yourself for a role and networking or interviewing or applying, you have to be able to cut through all of the clutter really quickly. So if I, as a hiring manager, am looking at your resume or your LinkedIn or your cover letter, and it isn't abundantly clear that you are a candidate who's skilled for the job that I'm offering and you want this job in particular, I'm not going to look at you. So you can't just shoot in the dark. You can't have 18 different resumes because you can't have 18 different LinkedIns and they have to be in sync. You can't have a general resume because it won't, as I said earlier, won't really come to the top of the pile. So understanding, what do you seek personally? What do you want to do? What role, what skills and strengths do you bring that are aligned for that work? What makes you a good fit for the work? And also what makes a good fit for that organization to fit your life? We want you to think a little bit selfishly here too.
Right. And when you have done that, it sets you up for this next step. And that is, you don't have a compelling story. I'm sorry, which one?
Well, it's true. I mean, if you don't do the first one, you won't have a compelling story. But that is typically the problem. You're not capturing my attention. You're not connecting the dots of your experience. So we're always talking about that, especially like us. You worked maybe in a big job, then you were home, maybe you volunteered, maybe you led the PTO, maybe you were a caregiver for an elderly parent, you were doing maybe some advocacy work, maybe you're doing pro bono work, whatever it is. You can't expect me in the brief moment I'm going to look at your resume to make sense of all that. You have to connect those dots. And we want you to call out all of the experiences, not just the traditional paycheck experience that might be earlier, but what you've also done in these years that you've been opting out.
Right. And another mistake that we see all the time is that people are just posting and praying that, you actually feel really productive when you're doing this. You feel like I sat down today and I looked at all the job boards and I applied to a number of different positions, and I shut my laptop and went on my merry way in the day. And then you're feeling a sense of rejection or, a sense of, gosh, I just put in so much time to do that, and now it's not netting me anything. So
because it's not netting you anything. It will not ever net you anything. It is, we call it post and pray because that's kind of what it is. You can feel like you're really busy, as Kelly said, but you're not accomplishing anything. It's a losing strategy. Mathematically, you have about, maybe you particularly having had a career break or unconventional resume, you have maybe a 10% chance of ever even getting seen and maybe a first screening interview. You're never going to get through it. So why put your time in something that's going to be a losing strategy. So we'll teach you a way to avoid applying online and why.
Right. And then the last one is you have negative mindsets and they're getting in your way. And this is something that we see so commonly. Even if you've taken a brief career break, you lose confidence, you start to question yourself. And then if you have a longer career break, you start discounting things that you've done during that career break as being work. And we're going to talk a bit more today about how if you shift that mindset, if you believe it first, the world will believe it. But you have to start with yourself, and you have to start with the way you're talking to yourself. You also have to start with setting boundaries with people around you that are maybe holding you back and creating mindsets in your mind of you can't do this, or it is impossible, or it's too challenging. And again, sometimes those voices that are around you are really well-intended and may feel like support, but they might not be support. And the kind of support you need to make it through this job seeking.
This is a
period of time.
very tactful way of saying that.
Yes.
So we talked about that first one of career direction. We call it in our programs, choosing your lane.
Yes.
So the first step is to research. You know, you can do some online research. We recommend that you do some online, but really most of your research should be talking to people. Learn. If you go into your job search with a real tabula rasa, as they say, a clean slate, going in and thinking about what could I do? Yeah. Not what am I supposed to do? Not even necessarily what I did before. Yeah. Because the job market's changing. There are jobs today that didn't exist last year. Yeah. So being aware and educating yourself by doing a little bit of online research, but mostly by talking to the people you see every day. So even when Kelly and I were on our career breaks not working, we still had friends who were working, friends whose spouses were working, neighbors whose spouses or sisters or brothers were working. There's a very short distance between you and someone who's working in a job that might interest you. Yep. And this is how, so we call it exploring and assessing, to learn about what opportunities exist and then assessing about, gee, does this sound like something that would be a good fit for me? Yeah.
And that research stage, that very first stage, is really just your opportunity to dream. Yeah. You know, just don't take anything is on the table.
That's right.
And just giving yourself an opportunity just to play with that for a little while can be really eye-opening. There might be something that's a small whisper inside of you right now that's like, this is the next step. You should potentially take it. That was my trajectory. Yes. It was this small little whisper of, well, it's not therapy that I think therapist I want to become, but it's something in that vein, and it led me in a direction. So it's sometimes just quieting yourself a little bit and then giving yourself that space to dream, and then going and doing the research to make sure that it's.
I kind of combined those bullets all in one thing, I realized.
Yeah, you did.
But the general idea is to become educated and not to just hop into something because you think you should or could do it, but really looking at more new possibility. Yeah. So Megan is going to send out a link to a template that we use to help you understand how to explore and assess potential career fields.
Yeah, because what we find, one of the most challenging pieces of the Explore and Assess is knowing how to ask really great questions and compelling questions that are going to get you to the clarity that you want. So you're going to want to download that particular freebie because it's going to help you with formulating those questions.
And one other thing we should add is that most people want to help you.
Yes.
It will be a rare person, probably nobody, who will go through a full career of 30 or 40 years and not experience a job search, either but intentionally because they're leaving a job or unintentionally because they've been laid off. So virtually anyone you talk to has been in your shoes, has had to look for a job. So people are really kind.
Yes.
And I think you'll find that you'll get some good reception. Okay.
So the next piece is to craft your story with your specific audience in mind. So remember, we've talked about that idea of audience, but now we're going to dive into this a little deeper.
So being clear on your lane, make sure that the resume is really speaking to that industry, to that role, and you're speaking to that audience. You're showing them what they need to see. And the challenges as I just hinted at earlier, is that people who have multiple resumes struggle because I, as a hiring manager, might have resume number 3. But 99% of hiring managers are going to immediately look at your LinkedIn. And if resume number 3 is different than your LinkedIn, which is based on resume number 1, that's enough for me to throw you in the forget it file. So we are really approaching job searching with the advent of applicant tracking systems and job boards. We've changed the whole paradigm. As a hiring manager, I'm not looking through a pile of resumes to try to find the best candidate. I'm looking for through the pile to see how many people I can dump so I can get a smaller pile.
Yeah.
So it just you have to have that kind of defensive mindset.
Yeah. And then rule number 2 is to pitch your career break as an asset and not as a liability.
This is really important because most of us walk into the room either ignoring it. And let me tell you something, if I haven't figured out you took a career break yet, I'll know it by the time I read your resume or look at your LinkedIn or finish the interview. So don't let me craft the story about your career break. Make sure you tell it to me in your words. But the other piece of it is we're not apologizing.
No.
We're not defending. We are pitching it. We're going to give you a little help on how to set that conversation up in a moment.
And in doing that internal strength that it gives you and the impact and memorability that you're going for when you're connecting with people, that comes through in your energy. And so we really want you to listen to that little tidbit that you are pitching your career break as an asset and not a liability.
That's right.
Rule number 3.
Yeah, the last one is to practice. So storytelling comes naturally to some people, not so to others. If you're applying for a job as an auditor, I'm not expecting you to come in and have a lot of panache and polish, but I still need you to tell your story in a way that I can understand it, that those dots are connected, and that I remember it.
Yes.
Because if you just think of it this way, the average recruiter who's going to conduct your first interview might be talking to 15 or 20 people today. And take that out over a week. I could be interviewing 100 people this week. I need to be able to remember you. So you need to tell me a story with some specifics, with something that makes me think, oh, I remember Kelly.
Yeah.
She's the one that told me about when she had that one phone call for an hour with the woman at Penn. You know, I remember that story. Okay.
And, when you are doing this and you are practicing, you could probably talk about something that's going on with your children or something that's going on with your spouse or, for another family member. You probably talk with great articulation about those things. And we oftentimes, especially our women audience that we work with so intimately, there's a struggle in talking about yourself, and telling your story. And so this practice piece is really important because you may be ripping off a Band-Aid of something that you haven't done in a long time or you've never really done well. And so practicing is really going to help you grow your confidence when you're doing this.
And we've seen on other Mom Project videos and many other companies that host these types of informational sessions that often they'll suggest the STAR method. The STAR method is just a way of setting up your story. You talk about the situation. This is what I was dealing with. These were the tasks that I identified had to be done. These were the accomplishments, and these were the results. So this is the same kind of modality or template you can use, whether it's telling a story about how you brought the PTO from in the red to in the black and won a bunch of grants, or you landed that big client when you were working at Intel. So really looking at the structure for helping you plan those stories out.
Yeah. And so if you're still struggling with it, I think this next slide. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is helping you with that story.
Yes. Yeah. So do you want to tell the story?
This is Kelly's favorite line of mine. I want to work is work, whether it's paid or unpaid. And we really want you to internalize this because this is the essence of the caregiver's dilemma.
Right.
I was out of work for 12 years. I have an open gap at the top of my resume. Now, LinkedIn, maybe was it 2 years ago, created this tool where you could just put career gap on your LinkedIn.
Yeah. We weren't fans.
We're not big fans because it just diminishes what you did. We want you to talk about what you did. And if any of you have had the kind of career break where you were not able to do any pro bono, barter, part-time work or community leadership or volunteer role because you were caring for an ill family member, or maybe you were ill yourself.
Or you had a child who had neurodiverse
Yes, special
issues.
needs or health issues. We actually did a webinar years ago. I think it was for the Mom Project.
Yeah.
Overcoming tricky career gaps. And Megan will put that link up for you because that's a great one for you in particular.
Yes.
But for those of you who are somewhere in the middle, you have done things and you have done things that are valuable. You don't have to have done them for 10 years. You don't have to have done them many times. You just need something to take up that space that shows me that during those 12 years you've been out, you've been doing something that has had an impact.
And speaking about them in a professional capacity, not looking at that. So you're not the CEO mom. We're not putting that at the top.
No.
But you're actually really taking a good look at everything that you've done in that career break and thinking about how can I translate this into business speak?
Exactly.
Right?
We call it workplace currency.
Yes.
So your workplace currency from when you had a big job is very clear. This is my title. This is my team. This is what we accomplished. This is how much money we made, or your growth, or whatever it is. It's a little bit different when you're talking about it, but we're using, as Kelly said, the same kinds of language. So we want to focus on the skills that we acquired in graduate school or undergraduate school and in our job. But we also want to talk about the skills that we maybe perfected or refreshed during that career break. Maybe, as just carrying on with that PTO treasurer example, maybe you set up a Stripe payment system. Maybe you brought in QuickBooks. So you were developing and refreshing skills using newer technologies, even though you weren't in a traditional paid position. Likewise, if, again, using that same example, the PTO was suddenly in the black and, actually had a profit, it was able to write 14 grants for technology in the school system, that's an accomplishment worth celebrating and worth telling us who are reading your resume.
Yep.
All right. Okay, another tip on telling your story.
Yes, is to reframe your career break history. So we're going to kind of break this down now and really think through.
Yeah, because most people are sitting there thinking, I didn't do anything.
Yeah. Well, and this is a good slide to screenshots, because this is something that you can actually sit down, post this webinar, and really think through this for yourself. So it's asking yourself, what have I done as a volunteer in your community, in your children's schools, in your place of worship, on an executive board?
Mm-hmm.
Listing out those things. Here's a good tip. Ask the people around you as well, like, what do you remember I've done? Because there may be things that you did.
Yeah, if you've been out for 10 years, you might forget.
Yes. So asking people around you, or even just knowing, like, I know this has happened a number of times with our students in our career relaunch course, that they'll go and they'll say, oh my gosh, I was talking to my friend and she said, oh my gosh, don't you remember when you ran such and such event and you did X, Y, and Z? And she said, I had completely forgotten about that, because so much life has happened between then and now. So taking the time to just even tap the people around you that know you well and have been in your life during this time, that can be a great way to use them.
And as I said earlier, we're not looking to fill all 10 years with full-time employment hours.
No.
We're just looking to show a sampling of some of the things we did. So very often our students and audience members will say, well, I really can't put that down because I only did it, it was like 1 week a year was all it was.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if it was one day.
Exactly right.
It doesn't make a difference if it was work that you did during that time. And again, you're always thinking, and how does this help me tell my audience that I've still maintained a skill set during this gap time that, is valuable.
Another little piece on that first one, that volunteer work, is to reframe how you feel about it. Because when you are pitching this to a potential employer, I want you to come at it with this mindset of what I did not only helped my family and my immediate community, but it helped more people. In fact, it could likely have helped the person who's interviewing you. Because if you were working really hard on the PTO to make sure that the enrichment program was really robust, well, guess what? A lot of other people, a lot of other families, a lot of other people's children benefited too. We as a community, as a culture, really rely on the shoulders of the women who have left the workforce temporarily to kind of run everything.
Yes.
So we want you to feel that kind of confidence in claiming it.
Yes.
Then there's also the work that you've done. So we had one student years ago where she had left a pretty good sized marketing job, and she was hired every year just to go to do their 1 week, trade show, and set it up and do the schmoozing and do the dinners and all that. And she wouldn't count it. She's like, it was like 4 days a year. Does not matter. Any gig work you've done, any part-time work you've done. So many members in our audiences have said, well, all I've done is the books for my husband's company, or I've done all the hiring, recruiting, and employee development for my brother's company, but it's not paid.
I've been running our Airbnb. I've been doing the marketing for Airbnb.
Right.
I've been doing the rental agreements. I've been doing all of that back and forth. That is work.
And we want you to count it. Again, we're not looking at the number of hours or the payment. It's the work.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have plenty of resources of how, if you want to dig even deeper into this, all the different avenues that you should be looking at. All right. And then what have you done as a caregiver? So really looking at homeschooling or advocating for special education services. We've had a number of students who have really devoted their lives to this because of a situation or a circumstance in their own home. And they have changed the lives of many, many people. That is valuable work. Caring for sick or disabled family members. Maybe you are, worrying about running estates. Maybe you are coordinating all of the healthcare workers that come in and out and have to interview them and replace them when somebody isn't doing the job that they should be doing. I mean, that's valuable work that you're doing.
You might have POA, or you might be an executive of estate. Maybe it's a big estate. So thinking a little bit more creatively about the work that fills your day and giving yourself credit for it and making sure that you feel confident to tell that hiring manager, this is what I've been doing. So,
okay. So all of that is, okay. So now we're going to distill this down and make it easy for all of you.
So this is the template that we created for any career break. So you're going to fill in your specifics, but the general framework is, number one, I loved my work and I was really good at it. It was a sacrifice for me to leave, but given my alternatives at the time, it was the right decision and I'm glad I made it. So what you're doing here with just this one pretty simple statement is telling me, the hiring manager, okay, this is a confident person.
Yep.
She was really good at what she did. And this is a sacrifice. I think people misread the career break as a luxury. And to some degree it is. We knew that we had both done well enough financially that we could take time off. And most of you who've taken a career break have done it because you were successful before and you had the money to do it. So there is that luxury. But people don't always recognize what a sacrifice it is to go from, at 31, in my case, from running a $50 million bottom line to being home with 4 children in 6 years. It was a big hit to my confidence. And it was a sacrifice I'm glad I made, like most of you are, like you are, but still in calling it out. So that's kind of the first statement.
I want to say something about this because I've actually read a couple of big articles that have been out there recently about this particular topic of the downshift.
Yes.
And women really doing the downshift in their career. We did that. We're in our 50s and 60s now, and we understand it much differently than, when you're younger and you are in your mid or late 30s or your 40s. And there is a sacrifice in it. It feels like power in this moment, and there is a power to that. You've probably worked really hard and opted out for this period of time because you've set your life up in such a way to be able to financially weather that. But it's also a sacrifice in the long term as a collective, as women. And I feel like it's a missed opportunity to sit with an audience of women, not to know that we need to, as a collective, keep pushing for this in the workspace and making room for what's happening.
And not settling and not saying, and not giving up either, because that happens really often.
Yeah. So I had to say that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you did. The second piece of this framework is, during that time, I tapped into and perfected my professional skills and expertise. And I did that in community and caregiving and advocacy, gig, pro bono, whatever roles there were. And I learned new skills too. So now we're not spending a lot of time. You'll notice on that first statement, I wasn't telling you, my kids, I wasn't saying, what I was really just glossing over. Now I'm reminding you that my skills are current. I've learned new ones. And then you wrap it up with, I am ready and eager to bring my professional training and all the new skills I've honed as a community leader back into the workplace. And I'm so excited to learn today if we're a good fit for each other.
Yes.
I've handled it quickly.
Yes, quickly and succinctly, because here is another trap that we fall into. And we have seen this with our students. We feel like we have to explain why I made this choice and the depths of it and what was happening in your life. There are very few people that have earned the right to really hear your story.
And that recruiter is not one of them.
No. And neither is really the hiring manager.
No.
Even if you get that far in the process, that is reserved for the allies in your life, the people, the support system that you have in your life to really know the depths of what's happened in your life. It's here that you're you're just giving them this language. That's it. So I would screenshot this particular slide if I were you and sit down and just plug in your information and practice that, because there is your story. That's you connecting the dots.
And there's some good ways to practice for the storytelling. There's, I mean, tell them what you do. You just
What?
use your phone, right? You just
Oh
do,
yeah, I do it on my phone. I record myself.
yeah, just watch it.
Yep.
I do it on Zoom sometimes. I'll just set up a Zoom and start practicing.
I do it in my car. We
I always do it in my car.
In my
But
car,
I-
something happens in my car. I'm not sure.
I
what,
did it in
but-
my car before there was Bluetooth,
Yes.
and people probably
Oh.
thought I was nuts, but
Yes.
it's okay. It worked.
Yeah.
Practice,
Sometimes,
practice.
but sometimes, especially if you're an external processor, which both of us
Mm-hmm.
are, it's really helpful to do that so you get it so it feels like this is me.
Mm-hmm.
This is me who's really speaking and authentically coming through.
Right. All right. So we talked, that third bullet was about not posting and praying. So posting and praying, for those of you who don't get the metaphor, is applying through a job board anonymously, which is pretty much what they are.
Yeah. Okay. So less than 50% of filled jobs are posted. So this is a really important.
And it's something most people don't understand.
Yeah.
So we already said that only about 15% of Americans get their jobs by applying online, by just applying online, because you're not like the average American. You have maybe a career break, maybe you have some part-time work, maybe you're making a pivot, maybe all three. You're not one of the 15%. You're maybe one of the 8 or 10% that might slip through.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to work with those kinds of odds. But the other important piece of this is, of all of the jobs that are posted, there's another equal-sized proportion of jobs that are never posted.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it this way, even when you decide that you're going to hire a new lawn care or a lawn care person, maybe you've never had a lawnmower. We do our own lawn, but a lot of people have lawn services that come in. When you make that decision, you've been thinking about it for a while, probably a few months.
Yeah.
And if you just happen to be out somewhere and someone came up to you in those earlier months and said, "Hey, Susan, you know what? I'm starting a lawn service. If you're ever interested," I think, what we've been talking about, we should do this.
Mm-hmm.
That is called kind of stepping in before. That's the hidden job market. Not waiting for me to get to the point where I can't mow my lawn one more day and I'm placing an ad, because then
Mm-hmm.
you're one of 100 people that's seeing that ad.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about trying to network with people, to meet people so that they know you're looking and they know what you're all about before they post that job. All right.
Yes.
Another thing to remember about job postings, and this is a sad reality, and we're giving you a little peek under the curtain, is that very often the jobs are never intended to be filled.
Right.
So very often jobs will be posted because there is the possibility of landing a big client in 4 months.
And they want to be ready.
They want to just get some people in the hopper, get some, names going, so that if they land the account and they need to add to that team, there are some candidates. Sometimes a job is posted because the company's trying to look good. So if you are being acquired, or maybe trying for a merger, or maybe even looking for funding, what better way to look like you're doing well than to have lots of jobs posted,
Mm-hmm.
right? Looks like you're growing. Great way to show growth. So there are many reasons that jobs will be filled. Another one that we've seen play out with our students is that I've hired Kelly temporarily to be my
Trial
project
basis.
manager.
Mhm.
I really love her. I'm going to hire her. So I'm going to write it, but I have to look like I'm an equal opportunity employer. So I'm going to post the project manager job on Indeed, on LinkedIn, etc.
Yeah.
But I'm going to fill it with Kelly.
Right.
I'm going to go through the motions, but I'm going to fill it with Kelly. So if you think about it that way, a small chance you're ever going to get through, but in that small chance, all of those opportunities there, only a handful of them are really legit.
Right.
So we don't want you spending time there.
Right.
Okay.
So here's what you need to use. You need to use your network,
Mhm.
and you do have one. And for those of you that are sitting out there and saying to yourself that you don't have a network, you do. We have, students from literally all over the globe.
Yeah.
They have left the country, and in some way, shape, or form, they have a network.
Mhm.
And so think of these different pieces of your life and think about who, are those people that are connectors. They have tentacles in lots of different places.
Mhm.
You all know a connector. So your family and friends, who are the ones that are, connected to everybody.
Mhm.
That's who you want to be having conversations with and letting them know what's happening. Acquaintances. This could be neighbors, kids, friends, parents. This could also be, and this is a hot one from our students over the years, hairdressers,
therapists.
Yes. And they have connections everywhere. And sometimes they're hearing someone sitting in their chair who is
Yeah.
about ready to get rid of their,
Right.
whoever in a position, and they're going to be
Yeah.
hiring. So that's a great one. And that's actually netted our students over the years some jobs.
We kind of look at it like concentric circles. You start where you're comfortable. It's easier to hitting up your sister than it is, the CEO of a company.
And you're
that
building
you
your
barely know.
confidence along
That's
the
right.
way, telling that story that you've now established.
Getting that practice, moving
Mhm.
on. Another great place to go, which is, I think this is probably the gold mine, one of the gold mines that people are afraid to, is former colleagues and clients.
Yes.
I was working with a former client, a private client yesterday, a pretty senior tech woman, and she's only been out for 2 years. And she's like, I'm so embarrassed. I was like, what are you embarrassed about?
I know.
Should
I know.
never be embarrassed. Never feel any shame for your decision.
Mhm.
Most of the people that you left behind, even if it was 15 or 20 years ago, they remember you fondly.
Yeah.
They want to help you. Just as we said earlier, they've been in this position or they know someone close to them who has. People will help you. Do not be shy about going after old colleagues, clients. And that could also include former employees. Want to tell the Janice story?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So one of our students in our career relaunch course, she went through the whole course and 22-year break. And she, during the course, we have you do this, we take you through the whole process, and then we actually have you start to do real, true networking. Well, she had started networking with an old colleague that she hired 8 years
And he was
ago.
like 23 when she left.
Yes. And when he saw that she was ready and wanted to do work, he was like, well, I'm going to find you something. There's no way I'm not going to find you
He made
something.
a job for her.
Yes, he did. And so ultimately she got hired from someone she had hired all those years ago. Another story that I love is our student who was out for 24 years. And her son
was 26.
Okay.
Yeah.
And her son had started working
at Google.
And she had worked in the car industry years
For
prior for GM. And one of our, lessons were to network and don't
there's
pass
no
over
age
anyone.
limit,
Yes.
right? No age limit. 21 is a perfectly fair game.
So she's sitting one day at the dinner table telling her son about this course that she's taking and what's happening. And she goes into the whole, concept about networking. He says, well, Mom, what about coming and working for us? And so she networked with him to work for
Waymo, which is their electric car division. She's still there.
Yes.
And the irony here is that the most advanced technology that she had worked on, because she had left work in the 99, I think, because this was a while ago. She was probably 96 or 97, was probably fuel injection, which is it's like a Fred Flintstone car now. So think about that. So much technology in a highly technical field that she had missed, but she was still hired. Right. So there are opportunities there.
Yep. Your alum.
Fellow alums are a really good one, especially if you come from a school or a graduate program that has a really strong alumni network. But even a tenuous one can work. Finding people within that college or university that have graduated. They don't have to be people that graduated with you. It's kind of any year is fair game. Finding people who work either in industries that interest you, or if you have an idea of what company you might want to work for because they're a big employer in your area, finding them and just having conversations with them, just chatting with them to talk to them about how their job search has gone, how they landed their job, what's good about their job. Could they help you advance? Right.
We've had students from our course and clients that we have, this is time well spent to go back to their alma mater and become part of these organizations, get themselves on the board of their alumni organization. That is a great way to, again, it's a resume builder, and it's also really networking and connecting you back into
at scale too, because you've got access to a lot of people.
And I just want to say something for the confidence factor that we're trying to grow through this process as well. When you connect with your old colleagues or alumni that are working in your industry and you start talking that jargon again, your work jargon. So I was in education. And so if we start talking about PPT meetings and all these things, of course, I come to life because it was something that rolled off my tongue. And so I get back into the energy of that work that I did at one time in my life where if you start talking that tech talk, it comes right back. And so there's an embodiment of confidence that really comes through that you want to remind yourself, she's in there and she's not lost. She maybe went to sleep for a little bit. And here's the best part of it. She's far wiser now. And so just waking that part of you back up again sometimes can just be really good for that growth and confidence.
Okay. So we have another template, a strategy that we call Connect, Message, Meet. If you are on LinkedIn, we would only want you to use this strategy if you have a really well done LinkedIn page, because you don't want to if you're at all concerned, wait until you perfect your LinkedIn page. And we have plenty of content on the blogosphere and on YouTube about creating a good LinkedIn page. But the strategy, specific to a strategy that we teach, Connect, Message, Meet, can help you make the most of those unknown LinkedIn contacts, the ones where you have a connection, but you don't know the person. So Megan will pop that in the chat as well.
All right. So we've talked kind of throughout about the mindset, but you know, that negative defeatist mindset is one that can take you down in this process. And it can be the one that actually keeps you from doing anything at all, or keeping you feeling really stuck. And so number one, you have to manage yourself. And you have to manage the way you're talking to yourself. And that comes from saying things like this: I wasn't paid, so it doesn't count. We talked about that already.
Or I worked a family gig, so it doesn't count.
Or caregiving work, that doesn't really count.
Or unpaid advocacy doesn't count. These things all count.
Yeah.
And the catch, though, is that if you don't believe it, then you saying it will have no impact on me, the hiring manager. You need to believe it
Just
yourself.
because I went to this webinar and these two ladies I had never met before told me to say this, like, this is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
You know,
You
you have
gotta
to
believe
own it. You have to own
And
it.
I think one thing that can help you believe it is that we've been offering our programs for about 7 years. We know it works.
We do.
I mean, Verna's a great example, 26 years out, that much technology drift, and she still landed a huge, really great job. Tons of stories like that. The difference is that when they went in, they weren't apologizing.
No.
They were boldly explaining what they did. And if they got pushback, they were explaining that, the beauty of people like me is that, yes, I'm a trained GM engineer, but during those years that I was home with my sons, I was leading the STEM program. I brought STEM into our school system. I led the robotics program. I did pro bono work for a local engineering firm that was doing entry-level housing for people in the inner city, blah, blah, blah. But like very confidently just addressing it so that the person on the other side of the desk almost feels a little guilty.
Yeah. Well, I love it when we teach interview and we talk about, there's this strategy called the back and forth.
Oh yeah.
And it's, well, I could talk to you about the work that I did when I
landed that big client for IBM.
Yes.
But what I really want to talk about today is about this much smaller project that I did for our town land conservation committee, which doesn't seem as sexy, but it was just as impactful. Let me tell you.
But I had no staff.
Right. I had no pay, no resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is what I made happen. So you have to look at this from the perspective of you are educating the world about the important work that we are doing as caregivers during those opt-out years, the important things that are happening. And this is your opportunity to educate someone who is across from you, who may be younger than you and on the trajectory of building their own life and potentially a caregiver in their own right. And so it's just your opportunity for that bigger movement that I sort of talked about earlier. Okay.
But it's important. So you can't control many of the variables in the job search process. I've already explained that to you, but you can control your mindset. And Kelly does a really good job of talking about taking care of yourself. There's this speaking kindly to yourself. But talk a little bit about self-care, because I think we think self-care is kind of foo-foo, but it's not.
Yeah, well, and I think with the rise of burnout that's happening in the workplace, many of you probably left the workplace because of burnout. And so I can guarantee you with 100% certainty that that was because you were not taking care of yourself. You were sacrificing for everyone around you and looking at anything that had to do with filling yourself up as something that was a luxury or, when I can get to it. And we really believe strongly in burn proofing you for the career reentry. And that starts with understanding, what do I need? What do I need to fill myself up and get myself to a centered and balanced place? There's a lot of science behind this. We teach this very extensively to our students in our course. But just to kind of give you a little bit of a 411 on that, or a 101 on that, is always starting with the basics. How are you sleeping? What are you feeding yourself? Are you drinking enough water? Who are the people that you have around you? are they creating an environment or a negativity that you need to set some
Mhm.
boundaries with, so that you are able to find that white space for yourself to
Mhm.
get more balance. So your self-care is something that should not be negotiable, and you will not be successful in the job seeking process if you're not taking care of yourself. You will be an altered version of yourself, and the world will read that. They will read that energy in 2.2 seconds. So, so making sure that you're making a priority.
And if you don't, the other problem is that it can't be an intermittent thing. As Kelly said, it's got to be a lifestyle,
Yes.
because you don't know when that amazing
Exactly.
networking opportunity is going to present itself. You've got to be
Yeah.
on your A game when you're looking for a
Yeah.
job most of the time.
Yeah.
So just making sure that this becomes your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And not-
Self-care is not a luxury. It's a practice
Mhm.
that you do in your life every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. And to your point, part of it also is, who are you surrounding yourself with?
Yeah. Well, and Natalie, given my week,
Yeah.
it's like I'm really trying. Like this morning, it was like I have to set myself
Yeah.
up for success, and so I had to make sure there were certain things that I did to take care of myself so that we could.
And
show up
sometimes
today
it's
and be
shutting the
best
door.
version of
I mean, I've
ourselves.
seen you do
Yes,
it. Like
yes.
this one's calling me to complain about something that's
Yes.
happening at the school. And I don't,
Yeah.
right now, I
can't do
don't
it.
care.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Okay.
Okay. So we talked about this a little bit, and this is another one I think that's a good one to screenshot, because this one is the one that kind of gives you that confidence to look at that hiring manager and tell them how important you are. So career breaks are ubiquitous. I'm working on a book right now. 80%, I think I figured out about 82% of all women will take some type of career pause. So either they're taking a career break, or they're downshifting to take a smaller team or fewer clients, or they're stalling and saying, I'm just going to stay in this job for 8 years until my youngest is in kindergarten. So that's the vast majority of women are doing this. So you are not that alone, or you're not alone at all. And all of our collective times, downshifting, stalling, and taking breaks, all of that time benefits everybody, including the person who interviews you. So just remind yourself of that. Make a screenshot of this. Think about what you've done. Even if you've done it because you have a disabled child or an elderly parent, that work that you've done to secure resources in the school system for your child don't just benefit your child.
Right.
Those resources benefit every child that comes after your child. The investment that you made to make sure that the nursing home was compliant because they were not taking good care of your parent, those changes, those improvements that you initiated benefit everyone who's coming after with their parents. So we want you to kind of have that confidence when you walk in. Okay. All right. Good. We wanted about 15 minutes for questions. Just so you know, we are on all of these platforms. You can, if you join our YouTube channel, we would love you to subscribe. Every Monday, we put a new video out. It's short, maybe 8 to 10 minutes, and tackles one specific challenge that you as a relauncher are facing. We're on LinkedIn. We have courses there. The same content that's on YouTube is available on audio. If you like to run with your AirPods, we're on Spotify. Okay.
Yes. And we'll have a follow-up email that we'll get to Natalie, that will come from us. You can learn about us and our programming and all sorts of details, maybe some of the videos that we
Yeah, actually, we do have, so our career relaunch course, which Kelly mentioned a couple of times, is offered 3 times a year. Our fall semester begins, I think, the 3rd week of September.
We do.
And
we're going back to school too.
Back to school too, that's right. And we have 2 free information sessions where you can learn about that, and you'll get a link to those as well.
Super.
All right, let's stop this share. How do we stop this share? There we go.
So many good takeaways.
Oh, thank you, Ned.
It was fantastic. And I know we have been paying attention to a lot of fantastic questions in the chat as well. So jumping right on in, should you put your career break on your LinkedIn profile or resume if it is a bigger break than 10 years?
So this is an interesting question, Jackie. If your career break was 8 years ago for 10 years, it doesn't matter. So the challenge with the career break, when I'm speaking from the hiring manager perspective, is I don't want to be the first person who hires you after you being out for 10 years. So if that's the case, if it's at the top of your resume, you need to explain it to me.
Yeah.
But if it happened 10 years ago, I don't really care. So I'm going to assume it's at the top of your resume. We, as Kelly mentioned, are not big fans of the LinkedIn career break thing. We would rather have you talk about what you did. So, for example, using the example that we used today, you could put community leader, West Hartford Public Schools, and then list, led enrichment activities to help with grow literacy performance, led development efforts to provide new technology, wrote grants for teachers to improve school or classroom facilities or whatever. So kind of listing a few. We don't put the months that you did it. You don't put you just say community leader and list. And then what I usually like to have you do is like list, select engagements include, and put 3 or 4 things that you did.
Yeah.
They may have all been done in 1 year.
Yeah.
I just need you to account for that time.
Right.
If you don't account from that time, and the first thing I see using 10 years as an example is 2015 at the top of your resume, I will not read further.
Right.
On LinkedIn, I personally prefer that you just place your experience, community leader, the same way on your resume, than to put it, because when I see it, not me, because I'm a mother of 4, but the typical hiring manager sees that and they're like, oh, okay, she's a mom,
Yeah.
And it's not 2021. Let's just say that in 2021, end of 2020, you had a pulse, you could get a job.
Right.
I mean, it was a lot easier. It's just not that easy right now.
Right.
So we don't want, as I said earlier, we want to be defensive. We want to make sure that we're putting anything that might just hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
We're pushing that out of the way. So hopefully that answers your question, Jackie. Definitely account for the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Alrighty, moving right along. What tips do you have around ageism in the hiring process? I feel this is impacting my job search.
So I think I'm going to start.
Yeah,
and then
good.
you can take it from there. But I think there is what we call in our world saboteurs that are out there. Ageism is real, and there is a 2% truth to that. And you got to give yourself that minute around the fact that, like I am older and,
Although she doesn't look very old.
No, you don't. You look fantastic.
She's like
FYI.
35 years old.
Patricia. Oh, Patricia's my mom's name. But you have to also understand and know that there are challenges that are in our culture and our environment, and you can navigate yourself around them. And a lot of the strategies, Patricia, that we're talking about with you here today are going to help you with that ageism bias that there is out there.
I'll just say I'm older than probably anybody on this, and I have no qualms about my age. But that's because I focus less on my age and more on my skills and experience and
Exactly.
expertise. So one way to look at it, Patricia, is for the first time in history, we have 5 generations working at the same time, and we are seeing the age of retirement, just inch higher and higher and higher. So the CEO that used to be 57 can very likely now be 72. So there's actually more, statistically speaking, there's more opportunity for older people. The challenge is making sure that no matter what age you are, because you could be young and have a major skill deficit and be very tech illiterate. It's unusual. Or you can be older and be just the opposite. So the key is to really be honest with yourself and focus on, am I doing all the things that Susan Kelly said? Am I very clear on what my lane is? Am I speaking directly to them and am I offering them the things that they need? If not, what do I need to learn? What skills do I need to acquire so that I am speaking to that audience and delivering for them on what they need?
Yep. And you can also flip it on its head. So for example, you don't have the constraints of someone like me who has 4 children, a very busy schedule, lots of things going on. Like, you have time.
And that's one of the things that we actually say to pitch. So if you're an older candidate, when you're interviewing, and this works better if you're with a hiring manager probably than in a first level interview, but to say something like, Natalie, I just want to throw this out there. My kid, this is me. If I were me, I'd say my kids are all in college or out. And I'm finally at that point where I can really dive in. And I know, because I walked around this office, or I've looked on LinkedIn, I see who works here. A lot of the people in your company are your age. So they're in the thick of it. And I know what that's like because I was there too. So I have great empathy. I want you to know that I can be available. When there's a snow day, I can come in. If my kids are sick, they're living in New York City and they're on their own, and
those are real challenges. Yeah.
Right. But I mean,
Absolutely.
to flip it and to actually say that,
Yes.
to use your age as an advantage.
asset. Yes.
Yep.
And you have to see it that way, because there is a 2% truth that there is a bias out there. We understand that, and we're not going to pretend like there's not, but there are these little tiny strategies that you can use that can really make all the difference. Okay. Hope that was
Good
helpful.
luck, Patricia.
Alrighty, I struggle with logistics of all of this. How do you make all of this look good on a resume when you don't have the traditional job title, company, supervisor, etc.? Also, some applications require a job title, company, and supervisor to complete the application.
Well, the second half of that question is easy to answer, Shannon, because we don't think you should be applying online anyway. So let's take that part out because we really feel very strongly. We have no sway in this. This is an absolute for us. So in making things look good on a resume, I would recommend that you go to, we have a whole, I think it's a playlist, right?
Yeah.
On our YouTube channel, a playlist just talks you through how to write the resume when it's not conventional. And you'll have lots of examples there too. So I'd recommend that you do that. But just a short answer, you don't have to have the traditional job title. You don't have to have a supervisor name. And the company, maybe you might have had a bunch of part-time gigs over the last 10 years. So maybe you just give your company name, SDC or SDE, SD Enterprise, your initials, whatever. And again, talking about select work includes or select accomplishments include, and then give me 3 or 4 bullets with some detail about what you did in those organizations.
And Shannon, this is also, everything that we're saying is also with the understanding that you really know your audience that you're speaking to, that you've done the work, that you are like, this is the work that I really want to be pursuing. This is what I want to be doing. Because if you are not clear on that, then you do need to do the time and reflection because that will come through. Yep. It will look like you are out there, grateful for any opportunity that comes your way. And you shouldn't have to be because there's real value in those years that you've opted out. So you need to understand that audience piece really, really well.
But that playlist on YouTube will really help you with kind of the mechanics of how to do this. Okay, Shannon?
Yep.
Good luck.
Alrighty, we've got one more.
Sure.
So for a prolonged job search, how long is it appropriate to keep circling back with your network if they have not made any connections for you yet? Is it eventually a bother if they keep hearing from you every 3 to 6 months over an extended period?
So when we talk about networking, I would say this just actually applies to any time you're asking someone for help. The more specific you can be, the better. So if when you're circling back to your network, you're just saying, hey, do you know anybody who's hiring? That will be probably annoying to me. But if you can give me a specific action item. So if I were reaching out to Natalie and saying, I really want to work at, I don't know, Google. And I would say to Natalie, I'm interested in the specific job at Google, and I'm looking to network within the organization. I understand that you know someone there or used to work there, or do you know someone there that you can connect me with? That is a specific act. But yes, I think it can be annoying if it's just checking in. Right.
Yeah.
However, the other way to keep in touch with your network is as soon as you make the connection and you've finished your first call, Caroline, you might say to your connector, I'm just starting my search and I would love to keep the lines of communication open with you. Would you be okay if I check in with you every 30 to 60 days just to give you an update and maybe find some other ways you might be able to help me? I know we get a lot of people will say the best way to network is for you to say, like Caroline, if I were networking with you, I might say, so Caroline, I want to meet because I want to hear how I can help you and how you can help me. That feels to me, I just like that is such BS.
That feels like somebody told you to say that.
Exactly. and that's what most people will say.
And then Caroline, I bet you're going to feel uncomfortable doing that. That's going to feel weird too.
I would rather have you be honest. I know that you want my help. I get asked for help all the time. I am so happy to help people.
Right.
I mean, not everybody's as eager as I am because this is what I do professionally, but better for Caroline to go in and say, I'm really looking to build my network. I've been leading my community for 6 years and I'm looking to bring that energy into the workplace. Do your networking call and then ask for permission to stay in touch. And when you do stay in touch, give me some insight. Oh, Susan, I made it all the way through the 4th round of interviews at X. I felt really confident. They ultimately went with an internal candidate. So I'm back at square one, but I'm feeling really encouraged that I made it that far. Let me know of your successes because that will make me feel a little more comfortable. Even if they're tiny, that will make me a little more comfortable in recommending you and networking you with other people.
Okay. Well, and so much of that is even what you all started this conversation with, of doing your homework, doing your research, knowing even when you're networking who you're talking to and what you're asking.
Yes.
So,
and the thing is that when you're applying online and you're busy because you're writing a bunch of cover letters, you're doing all that, you can have a whole day where you've applied to 10 jobs and feel like you're really productive.
Mhm.
But if you had spent all of that time and just done really thoughtful research on one connector,
Yeah.
and done a thoughtful reach out to them, it doesn't feel like you've done as much,
Mhm.
but you've done more.
You know what? So I have to say this, and then I know we have to finish up.
Yeah.
But my 21-year-old son, we were having this conversation
Yeah.
as he was saying, it's like, Mom, our generation is just like literally applying all over the place, because you can apply to 150
So you can have a bot
jobs. I
apply
mean, it's
for
just
you
like
now.
it's insane. And he said, and he goes, I wish they understood what you and Susan talk about all the time, that it really is connections that get you a job. It's almost like this is, so those of you who have 20-something-year-old children who are in this job seeking process as well, some of the information that you're learning
Share
here
it.
today, you can share with them.
Universal.
Yeah.
Universal.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Susan and Kelly. Always, it is such a joy to be with you. We always love having you all host master classes. I personally took, you're not defending your story, you're pitching workplace currency. The work that fills your day deserves credit.
Yes.
You don't know who is a connector. Those are just a few of my takeaways. I know there are many, many more.
Thanks.
So to everyone, thank you for joining us. Thank you for attending. We hope you have a long list of things that will help you in your career search. Please, I encourage you all to look at the Mom Projects YouTube channel. We have tons of additional masterclasses, some with Susan and Kelly, and a lot of other amazing experts. And again, we will send out this recording as well as some additional information. So please be on the lookout for that from us tomorrow. Thank you again, and hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday.
Thanks, everyone. And thanks, Natalie, and the Mom Project.
Thank you.